Okay, in this video we want to talk about Dr. Janet Breslin-Smith's presentation the other day. She first mentioned the situation with the Saudi energy production and consumption forecasts, and she indicated that Saudi production would continue, but consumption was increasing faster than production. We decided to draw a graph to illustrate this concept. Once again, remember that we just draw a graph to illustrate the general idea. It doesn't have to be exactly precise, but it's intended to just communicate the idea. So if we were to graph this and just show today and in the future a timeline, and then first thing that we would plot is a production going out into the future. We continue to produce oil. And then we just show that as a flat line. We once again recognize it would go up and down, but we show it as a flat line to make it simple. And then we would plot consumption, and with consumption we would show today that we are consuming much less than we are producing, but at a certain point in time, if we continue our consumption pattern, that it crosses overproduction and we begin to consume more than we produce. So this crossover point is estimated to be somewhere around 2030, so about 18 years into the future. Today, Saudi is selling oil because they produce more than they consume, but that triangle, you'll notice, gets smaller and smaller as we go forward, leaving less and less revenue coming into the country from outside sources as Saudi citizens consume more and more of their oil here locally. Once we reach the crossover point, beyond that, Saudi has to buy oil from another producer. So this graph summarizes the idea of consumption increasing faster than production. She also mentioned the U.S. energy situation, and she first indicated that the U.S. energy consumption is relatively flat, that our population is not growing like Saudi, and that citizens in the U.S. tend to try to conserve energy because of the price, so our consumption rates are not increasing. However, the production rates are increasing dramatically due to technologies such as fracking and horizontal drilling. So today what we see, actually before that, we note that the U.S. will also reach a crossover point, and that's also somewhere around 2030. Today the U.S. is buying oil because their consumption is greater than their production. Once they reach that crossover point, though, the U.S. will be able to have oil to sell. This leads us to the conclusion that at a certain point into the future that Saudi Arabia could be in the position of buying oil from the U.S. Very interesting statement. However, we see the logic of forecasting into the future these trends, and we note that that clearly seems to be a possible scenario. She also talked about subsidizing petroleum, and she mentioned that one of the issues here in the kingdom is the level of subsidy with petroleum. We know that petroleum has a demand and a supply curve, and let's just plot that as if this was the market rate. At the market rate, that would be the price, and that would be the quantity sold at that price. Now with a subsidy, where the government is actually subsidizing the producers or the sellers, we know that that would push the supply curve to the right or out. So we have a new supply curve out here at the subsidized price. Once that subsidy occurs, we would notice that the price would decline, but we also notice that the consumption would actually increase. So you end up with too much fuel at too low of a price. This ties back into the first issue of consumption increasing faster than production in the kingdom. Subsidizing energy has the effect of causing the consumption to be much higher than it would be otherwise. So this could be this is an economic analysis of the current policy. If we want to reduce consumption, maybe one thing that ought to be considered is to lower the subsidy to petrol. She also mentioned that profits attract innovation, and what we note is that over time we note that the price of a lot of products tends to go up and down in this zigzag fashion, and the reason that occurs is because as the price of something increases, that attracts attention, that attention turns into competition, and in many cases the competition comes in the form of a new innovation. So when she suggests that the price of oil above $100 a barrel is attracting lots of attention that ultimately could create an innovation that could cause the price to drop, she's simply restating what we note from economic history when we look around at other products that have become obsolete due to innovations. This second line would be the cost line. As the costs go up, the price goes up, and then the innovations occur, causing that price to drop. When the price drops, when the cost drops, the price can also drop dramatically. So, in summary, consumption and production in Saudi and the U.S., subsidies, and innovation. Thank you.